Since Bandai announced Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4, fans have been scouring the internet with nothing but questions. I know I have them. I'm pretty sure you do as well. First off, I want to answer the main question. Is this really a Budokai Tenkaichi 3 sequel? Yes and possibly no. Really, this could end up being a reboot. We really don't know yet. They only announced it as a new entry into the Sparking series, so that could be either a sequel, a reboot, whatever the case may be. I have heard some fans speculating or curious that it might end up being something like a Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi, which, if you don't know, Ultimate Tenkaichi is technically the 4th Tenkaichi game. I'm gonna make this quick for you guys. Do I really think Bandai would base this game around one of the worst received Dragon Ball games of all time? No. There's absolutely no way they do that. I don't think so. They even showed Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 3 footage in the trailer itself, in the announcement. I don't think Bandai would actually take anything from Ultimate Tenkaichi and try to use it. That wouldn't make any sense. That game flops really hard. Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi and Dragon Ball Sagas is probably regarded as the 2 worst Dragon Ball games. And if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably want to play Sagas. I'm just going to be honest. So no, I don't believe that they'll take anything from Ultimate Tenkaichi. I think Bandai kind of knows its audience. They know what we want. They know what we're waiting for. I mean, look at what they showed us. They literally showed us Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and then a sick one-for-one transition into this new gameplay, into this new footage that looks magnificent. I think Bandai knows what they're doing. They know what they have at stake. They cannot fumble this bag, because if they do, they're going to lose the trust of a lot of Dragon Ball fans. Like, it would literally take them to announce Fighters 2 or like Xenoverse 3 for fans to start believing them again. And even then, they might be a little bit skeptical. If they fumble this bag, Bandai's in trouble. So I think they know what they're doing. They're going to take care of us. They're going to give the fans what we want. But let's get into more speculation. So the next thing I want to talk about is the release date. When is this game coming out? When can you expect to have this game in your hand? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Honestly, I mean, we could look at past Dragon Ball games and kind of see when they were announced versus when they were released. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 was announced in May 2016 and it was released around October of the same year. So that's about a 5 to 6 month window period. Another example is Dragon Ball Fighters. It was announced June 2017 at E3, and then it was released sometime in late January of the next year. So similar to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, that's like a 5 to 7 month window right there for the release date. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was a little more longer of a wait. It was announced in January 2019 and didn't release all the way until the next year of January 2020. So that's our biggest gauge. We have on average about a 5 to 7 month window period between when these games are announced and when these games are released. So what does that mean for Budokai Tenkaichi 4? I think that this game will most likely be released this year. I only say that because I know it was a trend to release a Dragon Ball game every single year. I don't see the reason why this game would be done by the end of this year. But if anything, if it's not, it'll definitely come out by January time, maybe February. That seems like a sweet spot. The last 2 big Dragon Ball hits were released in January, being Fighters and Kakarot. So this might follow suit and be released in January as well. If anything though, I'm fine with that. That's more time for the game to be developed. You guys let me know. Obviously, I know you want this game in your hands tomorrow. Y'all needed it yesterday. We can wait a few more months, let this game shake out, let the developers really fine-tune everything in this game to make our experience the best one possible. So Bandai, hold your horses. Keep the game for as long as you need to. January, February, I can live with that. But I really want this game like no later than November this year, if I'm being honest with you. Another topic I want to cover is the roster size. How big of a roster do you want in this game? Me personally, I am a fan of the games with the bigger rosters. I like to play with the little guys, bro. I like to play with the Devilmans. I like to play with the Frieza soldiers. I like to play with the side characters from the movies. I want a big roster that represents all lore of Dragon Ball, bro. We have a big franchise, 4 different series of Dragon Ball Z, GT, and Super. I feel like this game should cover everything perfectly. And I low-key think Bandai actually gave us the answer to this question. If you look on their website, Bandai literally says, and I quote, they reference the games known for their massive rosters and attention to detail for the super moves, right? So they're talking about the past Budokai Tenkaichi games that were known for this, and that was like their trademark thing. Why wouldn't you make another Budokai Tenkaichi game that continued that trend? It wouldn't make any sense, right? So honestly, I don't see a reason why they would make a game with a smaller roster, especially a roster smaller than maybe Tenkaichi 2 or Tenkaichi. Tenkaichi 3 kind of went balls to the wall, went all out. I don't expect them to have a roster equally as big or even bigger than that game at base launch. I don't expect that. Maybe after DLCs, which we're going to get into in a second, but I don't expect that vanilla launch release day. That's probably not a thing. I think starting off, maybe a good sweet spot is probably anywhere between 60 to 80 characters. I'm good with that. You can give me 60 to 80 characters. starting from Dragon Ball all the way to Super. I think you could throw in a nice variety, a nice little sample size of characters that represents each different series in the Dragon Ball lore, and then still leave room for DLCs, obviously in-game unlockable characters later on down the road. I think that'd be dope. You guys let me know what you think about that. 60 to 80 characters, like I said. Maybe after all the DLC and stuff is done, we'll have a roster of upwards of 120. I could definitely see that happening. So now it's the perfect segue into our next topic, DLCs. How do you guys feel about DLCs in this game? Me personally, I feel like it's inevitable. It's going to happen. We live in an age where DLCs are king. Microtransactions are where companies try to make their money at the most. I have no doubt Bandai is going to milk this game, milk the nostalgia for everything, bro. But I do want to say this. As long as they don't do something ridiculous like give us Dragon Ball characters as DLC. Like, I don't want to sit there and buy Grandpa Gohan or Master Roshi as a DLC. That is completely brain dead, right? If you can give me something logical, maybe like obviously Super characters are going to be DLC. Maybe GT characters are going to be DLC. Maybe some Dragon Ball Z movie characters being DLC. I can see that. I can see myself buying that. That's fine. But I feel like this game should have enough of the earlier characters, like Dragon Ball characters and Dragon Ball Z characters, to the point where we don't have to use those as DLC. Those Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z are the OGs of the franchise. Regardless if you like GT more or Super more, it all comes from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Those characters in that series, those main characters, need to be well represented enough in this roster. They don't need to be in the DLC bracket. Like, come on, bro. I'm not sitting here trying to buy future Gohan with one arm in a DLC pack. That's not happening. Include them in the game. Make the DLCs for other side characters, like the movie characters. You can do GT characters. You could even do some Super characters. I'll be happy with that. But OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z characters just need to be in this game at base launch or unlockable in the game somehow. Next thing I want to bring up is the gameplay. How will this game play, or how do I want this game to play? Obviously, you want to make this game a nice middle ground between being fun for the casuals and then being a nostalgic experience for those expert players who've been playing this game for years. I can definitely see them doing that. It's accomplishable. Like, look at Xenoverse and look at Fighters. You can make this game that nice little middle ground to where it's not so janky and non-competitive as Xenoverse, but it's also kind of well-balanced and competitive as Fighters. You can make it that nice little middle ground game. People have fun. Because I'm not going to lie, back in the day, Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 3 wasn't something you would see the Evo, but at the same time, there was a big enough skill gap in the game to where if I got a Cyberman and I was really good at the game, and you got Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and you were bad at the game, I was going to beat you 10 out of 10 times with low difficulty. With a Cyberman, it was that easy. Like, the skill gap was there, but it still was a lot of fun. It was still kind of arcadey, still a little bit janky. But it was just dumb fun. I feel like they need to bring that back. Don't go super serious on me, but don't go quirky and janky like Xenoverse 2 and just make it wacky and have no skill in it. That would be a little bit ridiculous. So I think they should just keep the gameplay the same. Obviously, tweak it a little bit. They could take different things they learned from Fighters, from Xenoverse, and just mesh it together and make the perfect Dragon Ball game that we've been waiting for. Now, the elephant in the room probably is the story arc. How far in the story is this game gonna go? I feel like Bandai gave us the answer for how far the story will go. Obviously, we don't know how far back it'll go, but hopefully it starts at Dragon Ball. I would really like a game that starts at Dragon Ball, lets you progress all through Dragon Ball, go to Z, let you go all the way through Z, and then take a path. This is my ideal version of the game, because you can't have GT and Super kind of coinciding in the same universe, so you can have it branch off in the path. You guys remember Budokai Tenkaichi 3? You can click R3 to like initiate a cutscene to kind of like end the fight, how it canonically ended in the anime or the manga. I remember if you did not do that on time, or like you did your own thing during that fight, you finished the fight in a different way, you'd have a slightly different outcome or a slightly different cutscene towards the end of the match. They could do something like that in this game, to where towards the end of the game, however you finish off the game with Majin Buu or whatever the case may be, that'll branch you off into the GT verse or into the Super verse. I think that'd be really cool, and it'll add a lot of replayability into the game. And it's a nice, neat way to kind of cater to both sides of the fandom, because I'm more of a GT fan than I am a Super fan. But then again, I would want to play both paths and then have that opportunity to go back and forth as I please. Based off of a choice, I think that'd be really, really cool. Also, I really hope they do bring back the like open world flying around thing that Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and Budokai 3 had. I think that's really dope. I think they could take a little bit from Kakarot. I don't want them to go too crazy with the open world, because obviously this is an arena fighter and not an open world game. But they could take like open world aspects and tweak them that they already had in Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and Budokai 3 tweak them a little bit, let us fly around the overworld and just go to different cities and stop by and do different missions and pick up items and pick up Dragon Balls and things of that nature right there. I don't want like a chapter select screen type of thing, just going from one fight to the other, to the other, to the other. I feel like that's boring. We're on the PS5, dude. Like, come on, bro. You got to give us something extra. We waited 16 years for this, dude. Give us something dope. Give us something cool. For some odd reason, the background behind Super Saiyan Blue Goku, it just looks bigger. It looks more expansive. So maybe we will be flying in and out of battles, bro. That would be really dope. If we could fly into the battle and we just drop down and a cutscene happens, I would love that. I would love that forever. This would probably be the best Budokai Tenkaichi game to ever exist if they did that. Another thing I want to talk about with the story, I'm kind of all over the place right now because my thoughts are going crazy. I'm still hyped over this game, even though it was announced days ago. This is probably the biggest game I'm probably going to be waiting for this whole entire year. One of the last things I want to mention with the story, I do see Super Saiyan Blue Goku on Planet Namek. I heard Swag Kage say something about, like, I think it was Swag Kage, he tweeted about it, that Shueisha won't allow manga characters in the game. But on the same token, I don't know why they would show us Super Saiyan Blue Goku on Planet Namek. I feel like Bandai kind of just gave us the answer to our own question here. I think this game will at least go to the moral arc, which makes logical sense because if you're going to have super content in this game, you're going to need something to kind of hold the fans over. Like, you can't have 2 arcs worth of super content. Like, that's going to be really short and quick, and I would hate for them to bundle the rest of it in DLC. So logically speaking, the moral arc has been over for a while. We're in a whole new arc in the manga. We're covering the superhero movie stuff right now. You can honestly have the Battle of Gods arc, the Return of F arc, the Zamasu arc, Tournament of Power, and then finish it with the moral arc. Those are 5 arcs worth of content right there just in Super alone. So I think that'll give a lot more freshness to the game, because let's be honest, majority of the fans that are playing this game played through the Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball GT storyline 1,000 times. This will be the first game that actually gives us solid super content in the form of a Budokai Tenkaichi game. That is mind-blowing, man. So that's all I got for today's video, man. Do you think this is a real Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi game? Do you think it'll be a Budokai Tenkaichi 4 or something crazy like Ultimate Tenkaichi? How big of a roster do you think this game will realistically have? How big of a roster do you want? What are some characters you want to see pop up in this game? They better bring back the giant characters. I think that'll be really dope if they bring back the giant characters. Giant Great Apes and Harudagon and stuff, like Giant Janemba, that was ridiculous. How do you feel about DLCs? Do you want a lot of DLCs that could just give you all the characters eventually? Or do you want them to be in-game and be unlocked? I think a majority of you are probably going to say you want them to be unlocked in the game. But we do have to take into consideration that, especially if this game comes out this year, they're probably going to use the DLCs to pack in a lot of the fan favorite characters and get them in. So the sooner you want this game, the more DLCs that are probably going to be in it. I'm just going to be honest. How do you guys want the gameplay? Do you want the gameplay to be too repetitive or just be fun, dumb fun kind of stuff? Like I said, like a middle ground between Xenoverse and Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'm right in there with that. Let me know what you guys think about that. Lastly, what story arcs do you want to be covered in this game? Obviously, they're going to go up to Super, but do you want to see some GT in it? I know I want to see GT because that's kind of my favorite. I'm in that small minority. I'll take Super Saiyan 4 over Blue any day. I'm ready to down that hill. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Let me know what you guys think about what I talked about in the comment section down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for all the support on my reaction video. If you guys want to see that, I'm going to put the card up here. Go ahead and check out my reaction. Y'all been showing me a lot of love. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4 is real, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have this soon.
Hop on the beat, on spazzing. Got him in shot like anaphylactic. Ayy, they wanna party on crashing. When I pull up my little shotty like that's him. Ayy, like with the sauce, I'm tapped in, whole new world.